It was the coldest winter of 2015, and I was an 18-year-old balancing college life with a never-ending line of part-time jobs. At times, it felt like I would never find something that could sustain me while studying. But when the local gas station finally hired me with a decent wage, I beamed with pride. I left my lectures every night to serve burritos and hot dogs to late-night truckers and sleepy students. I had spent countless hours scrubbing tables or ushering inebriated customers out of bars. Still, now I was earning my own keep. The gas station operated on a 3-shift, day, evening, and night. It was common practice for the attached mini-store to remain open throughout the night. Each shift had a supervisor responsible for managing the store, and I had been working the day and evening shifts alongside my coworkers. I'd never had to work the dreaded night shift, as that was Mike's domain. Mike was a dependable guy who managed the store during the graveyard shift, and we'd become friendly colleagues. One fateful evening, Mike stood in the doorway to the back room, a look of anguish on his face. His body swayed slightly as he clenched and unclenched his fists. Through tears, he told me his grandpa had been taking out the trash when he suffered a heart attack and died. Mike needed to go home and asked if I could fill in for him that night. He offered me a generous amount of money and a day off later in the week if I agreed. Initially, I declined, feeling the exhaustion from 2 sleepless nights weighing on me. But as Mike pleaded and handed me the cash, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. The money was substantial, and I could use a day off. So, with some reluctance, I agreed to take on the night shift. I informed my coworker of my decision and retreated to the back office for a power nap. I knew I need to recharge if I were to make it through the night. As soon as my head hit the table, I was swept away in a deep sleep, blissfully unaware of the chilling events that awaited me. At 9 p.m., my coworker woke me up out of my sleep, signaling the end of her shift and the beginning of my nocturnal hours. To ensure the safety of the staff and store from any unruly customers, the night shift protocol required locking the front door, turning off the lights, and conducting all transactions through a small window. The evening shift transitioned into the night under a blanket of rain. The gas station's parking lot, now slick and reflective from the downpour, was illuminated only by the faint glow of the station's signage. Inside, the steady sound of rain against a building provided a constant backdrop to my solitary work environment. As I settled into my new role, I quickly served 5 customers. They were mostly truck drivers seeking fuel, medication, or a roadside snack. Once they left, the gas station was eerily quiet, the stillness punctuated only by the occasional gust of wind. My solitude was soon interrupted by the arrival of a middle-aged man who parked his car in front of the station and began to walk towards me. I assumed he was just another customer, needing gas and provisions, but his behavior quickly turned bizarre. The man stopped a few steps away from the store's window, staring intently at me as if he recognized me from somewhere. I stepped out into the parking lot, my shoes crunching over gravel. The man swayed unsteadily as I approached him. His breath was hot and sour from alcohol, and his words slurred together. "Who are you?" he spat, pointing a finger in my direction. "And where's Mike?" he continued, his voice rising with each word. Realizing he was likely another inebriated nuisance, I informed him of Mike's absence and returned to the store. But he followed me, pressing his face against the window and demanding snacks and a gas refill for his car. As I gathered the requested items, I noticed a man had spent an unusually long time at the pump. Glancing through the window, my blood ran cold as I saw him drenched in gasoline, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Panicking, I hit the emergency button to stop the pump and watched in horror as he pulled a lighter from his pocket. "Call Mike and tell him to return my money, or we'll blow up this whole gas station," he bellowed. I immediately called the police and fire brigade. Thankfully, the man struggled to ignite his lighter. Within minutes, The authorities arrived and shouted for him to drop the lighter, but he refused. In a final, desperate act, he managed to set himself ablaze before the officers tackled him to the ground and dragged him away from the station. The next day, I learned the man had died from his burns. I recounted the harrowing ordeal to the gas station owner and promptly quit my job. The acrid smell of burnt hair and skin haunts me, a chilling reminder of the disaster that could have been. The night was stormy when I, Officer Sarah Jennings, got the call about a break-in at the abandoned hospital on the outskirts of town. This place, notorious for drawing in the bravest or most foolish of teenagers looking for a thrill, stood as an ominous silhouette against a lightning-lit sky. As I parked my cruiser near the main entrance, the hospital loomed over me, its windows like dark, unblinking eyes, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. Moving deeper into the hospital, I encountered signs of recent activity. A cigarette, its ember still glowing faintly, lay discarded on the floor, hinting at the presence of others not long before. Nearby, a backpack was left in haste, its contents spilled, as if its owner had fled in a sudden rush. These clues starkly contrasted the surrounding decay, suggesting that despite the building's desolation, I was not alone. The further I ventured, the more the hospital revealed its past life. Faded signs pointed towards different departments, each doorway leading to rooms that once buzzed with activity. Now, they stood empty, their purpose forgotten. My footsteps echoed through the halls, which was a constant reminder of the solitude that enveloped me. Upon reaching the second floor, I found a clearly different room. Inside, amidst the remnants of the hospital's past, were items that sent a chill down my spine. Zip ties, duct tape, and a knife, all laid out with a deliberate intent. The realization that I had stumbled upon a scene planned for something sinister, possibly a crime, was alarming. My immediate reaction was to secure the area. I didn't touch anything that could be considered evidence and called for backup, ensuring I detailed the situation clearly to dispatch. While waiting, every sound seemed amplified, and I remained vigilant, aware of how quickly this situation could escalate. The investigation that followed was thorough. Officers combed through the hospital, documenting everything. The items I had discovered earlier were just the beginning. As the investigation deepened, it became evident we had intercepted a plan that could have led to a serious crime. The community's reaction to the news was one of shock and concern. People were unnerved by the thought of such sinister intentions lurking in a place many had walked past without a second thought. There was a collective relief that the plot had been discovered before it could be enacted, but it also served as a disturbing reminder of the potential dangers hidden within our town. The incident at the abandoned hospital prevented a tragedy and underscored the importance of vigilance and the role of law enforcement in keeping the community safe. Walking away from the abandoned hospital, the weight of the night's events pressed heavily on me. The line between innocent exploration and the potential for true crime had never felt so thin. Reflecting on what had transpired, I couldn't shake the feeling of how close we had come to witnessing a tragedy unfold in those decrepit halls. The discovery of items meant for harm in a place already marred by stories of despair highlighted the dark realities that can lurk in the darkness of such forgotten places. As a police officer, I had sworn to protect and serve, yet facing the tangible evidence of planned malevolence in a place as haunting as the abandoned hospital took a toll on me. It underscored the duality of my role, protector of the community and witness to its darkest potential. I was working my shift on a very stormy, rainy night at a warehouse, a small and remarkable building from the outside, but a vault of high-value tech goods within. As a security guard here, I was used to quiet nights. The monotony of my rounds was only ever interrupted by the occasional sound of my footsteps. But tonight, the storm outside seemed to echo my restlessness, leaving me without the normal silence of the night. I've walked these dimly lit corridors enough times to know them like the back of my hand. With the storm raging outside, every dark corner seemed more profound, every sound more ominous. It was just after midnight when the routine of my shift broke. The back door alarm beeped sharply, a shrill sound that cut through the noise of the rain. My first thought was a breach, and my pulse rose fast as I ran to check the surveillance feeds. The screens, however, offered no clues, just views of the alleyway, washed in the relentless downpour, empty and lifeless. A part of me wanted to dismiss it as a glitch, a false alarm triggered by the storm. But something needed to be fixed. Despite the empty screens, a knot of unease tightened my stomach. I logged the incident, trying to shake the feeling that we weren't alone, that the storm wasn't the only threat looming over us tonight. That's when the silence of the warehouse was shattered by a thunderous thud. A sound alien and startling enough to send a jolt of fear through me. It came from the direction of the front door. With a heavy dread, I made my way there, my steps hesitant. What I found sent a chill down my spine. The front door, usually secure, was open, rainwater pulling inside from the night's tempest, a clear sign that someone or something had entered. Discovering the front door open threw me into a state of panic. That sound I had heard wasn't just something falling. It was a clear indicator someone had entered the warehouse. My heart pounding, I quickly returned to the security room. My sense of safety completely eroded. Once inside, I locked the door and grabbed the phone to call the police, my voice shaking as I explained the situation. The wait for the police to arrive was agonizing. Outside, the storm raged on, its sounds blending with the fear of what might lurk in the warehouse's darkest corners. Every noise seemed amplified, making minutes feel like hours. When I finally heard the police enter the building, a mix of relief and lingering fear washed over me. They found the intruder, a man disoriented from drug use, holding a hammer without a clear purpose. As the police led him away, our eyes met briefly. His look was one of confusion, not malice, but it did little to ease a sense of vulnerability that had taken hold of me. After the incident, I found myself reflecting on the night with a mix of relief and lingering apprehension. The fear I felt while waiting for the police, barricaded in the security room, was unlike anything I'd experienced before. It wasn't just about facing a potential threat. It was a realization of how quickly a familiar, seemingly safe environment could turn dangerous. The warehouse, a place I had walked through countless times without a second thought, now felt different. It wasn't just a building anymore. It had become a symbol of how fragile my sense of security was. This change in perception wasn't limited to the physical space of the warehouse. It extended to how I viewed my job as a security guard. The role I had seen as a routine, even mundane at times, was now marked by the knowledge that real danger could arise at any moment. The incident had thrust me into a situation where I had to confront my fears head-on, highlighting the thin line between normalcy and peril. The isolation I experienced that night, compounded by the storm outside mirroring the turmoil I felt inside, with its thunderous noise and rain, it intensified my sense of vulnerability. It was a stark reminder that, in moments of crisis, the physical environment can either be a source of safety or add to the sense of danger.